After our parents divorced, my younger brother, Julian, snooped through Mom's text messages and discovered a secret. Our maternal grandmother was a titan of industry in Boston, a true old money matriarch. Desperate to become a trust fund baby, he was determined to stick with Mom. He didn't foresee the reality. Mom took him to a cramped, dingy rental, working double shifts at a diner to put him through school, living paycheck to paycheck. I, on the other hand, went with Dad, who had latched onto a Manhattan socialite. I lived in luxury. When the college acceptance letters came in, I was the valedictorian heading to Harvard, and my stepmother was thrilled to groom me as her heir. By the time I won a prestigious international piano competition, major magazines dubbed me the country's most eligible bachelor, the Prince of Manhattan. Julian went mad with jealousy. During my first solo tour, he rushed the stage, threw a bucket of filth on me, and plunged a knife into my heart. As I bled out, I used my last ounce of strength to turn the blade back on him. Then I opened my eyes. I was back on the day of the divorce. Julian desperately grabbed Dad's hand. I want to go with Dad. I stood quietly beside Mom. He didn't know that in my past life, I lived like an animal in that penthouse. Even the housekeepers felt free to spit on me. Even if he achieved more success in this life than I did, he would never be anything more than a high-end puppet. David Reed looked at his son in surprise. Jules, you want to come with me? I knew David wanted to take me. Before he divorced Mom, he was already having an affair with my past life stepmother, Victoria Sterling. Victoria had been a notorious party girl in her youth. Multiple botched surgeries and a reckless lifestyle had left her unable to conceive. Now past 30, she needed a male heir to secure her position in the Sterling family empire, so she looked for a pliable man with a son. 2 weeks ago, David took Julian and me to a theme park. Victoria had brought along a team of child psychologists and development experts to secretly observe and evaluate us. 6 of them flagged me as the superior candidate. Victoria was very satisfied with me. She married David primarily to mold me into a qualified Sterling heir. But I was never a son to her. On my first day at the Sterling estate, she locked me in a large dog crate in the mudroom. Caleb, if you want to be Victoria Sterling's son, you first have to learn submission. Eat the dog food. I won't. I clenched my fists. She smiled, looking elegant and poised. Caleb, if you don't eat, I won't let you out. I turned, begging David, who was hiding behind her. Dad, help me. But David, addicted to Victoria's wealth and status, followed her orders like a servant. He didn't dare speak for me. Instead, he helped her break me. Caleb, just listen to your mother. Don't worry. The kibble is organic. It won't hurt you. I screamed. She's not my mother. Reaching into the crate, Victoria gripped my jaw. Caleb Reed, if you want a good life in this house, you must forget Sarah. If you pass my tests, I'll allow you to change your surname to Sterling. Enraged, I bit down hard on her wrist. David panicked, shoving his hand through the bars to pry my mouth open. Caleb, you little mutt. Let go. In my heart, I screamed, never. Victoria remained terrifyingly calm. Caleb, even if you bite a chunk of my flesh off, you're still eating that dog food. At 6 years old, hearing those words, I understood the insurmountable gap between us. I let go. David cradled Victoria's hand, fawning over her. Vicky, are you okay? You're bleeding. It's my fault for not training the brat. Discipline him however you want. Victoria pulled her hand away. David, you aren't worthy of managing Caleb. David's face fell, but he quickly plastered on a sycophantic smile. You're right, honey. The whelp is all yours. Good. Because I refused the dog food, Victoria kept me in the crate. As she later put it, she had to break my bones to reset them. I starved for 3 full days, only gaining freedom after I fainted. Because I refused to be soft, Victoria turned the entire estate into my cage. She let the maids scrub me with stiff brushes, read my diary aloud, and forced me to recite math formulas while kneeling on uncooked rice. The staff mocked me as baggage and framed me for theft. Yet, outside the house, she used me as a prop to bolster her image. If I wasn't perfect, the punishments were far worse than the crate. Under her training, I forced myself to become a decathlon-level genius. When I became valedictorian, I gave Victoria enough face to last a lifetime. Perhaps because I grew older, or perhaps 12 years of obedience softened her, she eventually publicly acknowledged me as Caleb Sterling and announced me as the heir. If Julian hadn't killed me, I would have dismantled her empire from the inside out. Since I was reborn, I was more than happy to let Victoria and Julian torture each other. Dad, I want to live with you. You're my hero. I want to be just like you. Julian's childish voice, dripping with flattery, pulled me back to reality. Mom looked at me. Caleb, are you willing to come with me? Yes. Mom promised. Caleb, I will do everything I can to raise you well. I spoke from the heart. Mom, I'll stay by your side forever. Wait a minute, David shouted at Mom. Sarah, I haven't agreed to this. Mom looked at him with disappointment. David, what right do you have to choose? If you weren't the father, I wouldn't let you take either of them. What kind of life can they have with you? David played the rogue. It's not happening. Mom looked exhausted. Shut up. I don't want to fight in front of the boys. She finished yelling at David and bent down to comfort me. Caleb, take Julian to the room to pack, okay? I tried to project the innocence of a 6-year-old. Okay, Mom. Good boy. Mom patted my head gently. In the last life, Mom gave Julian all her love, but he never cherished it. I hid my complex emotions, turned to Julian, and took his hand. Jules, let's go upstairs. The 5-year-old shot me a look of pure malice and whispered, I don't have a brother like you. I pretended not to hear. What did you say, Jules? Nothing. He was surely cursing me internally, but I knew that the most fatal wounds don't require insults. I calmly led him up the stairs. At the turn, I felt him tense up to push me. The moment he moved, I threw myself forward with his momentum, deliberately smashing my forehead against the edge of the step. I wanted a scar, but I underestimated the pain tolerance of a 6-year-old body. After tumbling down a few steps and landing on my back, I couldn't help but cry out. Julian ran down the stairs, knelt beside me, and wailed, Caleb, why were you so clumsy? Mom and David came running. Mom fell to her knees beside me and immediately dialed 911. David, however, screamed at me. Caleb, how could you let yourself get disfigured? I knew Victoria had OCD. She demanded perfection. She would never allow the heir of the Sterling Group to have a facial flaw, not even a small scar on the forehead. In this life, Victoria would see me as damaged goods. Mom shoved David away. David, you don't deserve to be a father. Caleb is hurt, and instead of caring, you're talking nonsense. David hopped around anxiously, opening and closing his mouth, before finally yelling, You don't understand anything. Mom yelled back, Caleb comes with me. Don't you dare interfere. David held up a finger. Wait, I need to make a call. He was definitely calling Victoria for instructions. Whatever. Mom turned back to me, trying to keep me conscious. Feeling ignored, Julian's jealousy flared. He said in a sugary voice, Mommy, Caleb fell on his own. He almost knocked me down too. When he gets better, you have to teach him not to jump around on the stairs. Mom was physically and emotionally drained. Facing Julian's gaslighting, she was cold. I heard you. Not long after, David returned and announced, Sarah, it's settled. I take Julian, you take Caleb. Mom didn't hesitate. Fine. Mom knew David was cheating, but her pride stopped her from gathering evidence to use as leverage. Just like in the previous life, she let David keep the house and only took $50,000 in cash. David, desperate to secure his future with Victoria, was surprisingly agreeable. While I was still in the hospital, David flew Julian to New York. I smiled bitterly. I wondered if Julian, so hungry for fame and wealth, would happily eat the dog food. Caleb, why are you smiling? Mom asked, puzzled. I stared at the fruit bowl she was holding and blinked innocently. Mom, I want a cherry. Okay. Mom didn't ask again. After I was discharged, Mom took me to a suburb outside Boston to rent an apartment and found a nearby kindergarten. Once I started school, she set up a small food stall selling diner-style breakfast sandwiches and coffee. Every day after school, I went to the stall and sat there, doing my homework, acting as her mascot. As I got older, I helped her clean up. When the middle school entrance exam results came out, I had the highest score in the district. Reporters interviewed Mom, and she looked embarrassed by her apron. That night, she asked me anxiously, Caleb, should I get more? Respectable job. I answered sincerely, Mom, no matter what you do, you are great and respectable to me. Because you do it for me. But I don't want you running a stall anymore. It's too hard on you. I just got a scholarship bonus of $20,000 from the school. I've already chosen the best private high school. They offered full tuition and a stipend for top grades. Mom, you don't have to worry about my school fees anymore. You can lease a storefront and hire a cook. Mom looked at me with a mix of pride and loss. Caleb, you've grown up. Mom finally decided to open a bistro. On opening day, she offered a half-price promotion, and the place was packed. Suddenly, David and a young teenager in a suit appeared in the doorway. I went on high alert immediately. I rushed over and pushed them out of the doorway. What do you want? David beamed, his smile oily. Caleb, it's Dad. Julian, meanwhile, frantically smoothed the wrinkles on his suit, screaming, Caleb, you brute. Do you know how expensive this suit is? Even if your mom sold this dump of a restaurant, she couldn't afford to replace it. Clearly, in Julian's mind, Victoria was now his only mother. He probably ate that dog food on the first day with joy. Hell, If Victoria told him to lick mud off her boots, he'd probably thank her for the flavor. David yanked Julian's wrist, whispering a warning. Watch your attitude. If you don't complete your mother's task, neither of us will hear the end of it. Julian finally dropped his aristocratic facade. I asked David, why are you here? Today is Sarah's grand opening. Dad came to show support. David tried to play the emotional card. I blocked their path. We don't need it. Julian exploded, pointing a finger at my nose. Don't be so ungrateful. Dad, and I stepping into this greasy spoon is doing you a favor. Rage flared in my chest. I don't need your favors. All right. David stepped between us, playing peacemaker. Your brothers, stop fighting. Having calmed Julian, David finally revealed his true purpose. Caleb, your mother Victoria really likes you. She wants you to come live at the estate for a while. I laughed coldly. Julian must be absolute trash if Victoria was willing to tolerate the scar on my forehead just because I topped the middle school entrance exams. She was circling back to her spare air. David looked awkward. Caleb, what do you mean? I enunciated every word. I refuse. David, the moment you chose Julian, I ceased to have a father. I only have a mother. David's face darkened instantly, but he quickly switched to bribery. Caleb, don't be impulsive. Victoria is richer than God. If you come live with us in New York, it will be 10,000 times more comfortable than squeezing into a rental. He stood firm. Mom is worth more than all the gold mountains in the world. You. David dropped the act, glaring at me. Julian fanned the flames. Dad, Caleb is just an ingrate. If we actually take him back, he'll just stress Mom out. Forget it. Mom wants a good reputation. She could just sponsor a few scholars in other states. He glared at me with disdain. Look at him, arrogant and blind. In 3 years, he won't even get into a state college. David was persuaded. Fine, let's go back to the hotel. I turned around to see Mom, tears streaming down her face. She hugged me. Caleb, thank you. I comforted her. Mom, don't worry. You raised me. I won't betray you. Actually, Mom hesitated. I suspected she wanted to talk about Grandma. She had a hang-up about it. For 9 years, through the hardest times, she borrowed money from strangers but never asked her mother for help. I had acted as if I didn't know Grandma existed. Finally, she just said, Caleb, I will work hard to make this restaurant a success. I smiled. Mom, I'm with you. The second day of the opening, the half-price deal continued. The bistro was bustling. I was running plates with 5 servers, completely swamped. Crash. I was in the kitchen when I heard a massive noise. I ran to the dining room and saw Julian overturning a table. He was flanked by 10 men in black suits, private security. They looked aggressive, ready to kill. Most of the customers fled. Julian stood with one foot on a toppled chair, looking around. Anyone who doesn't leave gets a beating. The remaining customers scrambled out. I confronted Julian. What are you doing? There are cameras. Julian was arrogant. So what? I'm not afraid. I scanned the 20 bodyguards and asked sarcastically, Young mister, Sterling isn't afraid of jail. Are you guys immune too? Julian grabbed another chair and hurled it at me. Shut the hell up. Don't try to sow discord. I came here for one thing, to take you back to New York. If you don't come, there will be blood. I'm not going. I dodged a chair. And friendly reminder, I've already called the police. Julian smiled darkly. He signaled the largest bodyguard, who moved behind the counter and hoisted Mom over his shoulder. She was bound and gagged. I went berserk and charged, but 7 or 8 bodyguards surrounded me instantly. I roared, Julian, don't hurt her. She's your mother too. Julian looked cold. My mother is Victoria Sterling. If you don't cooperate, Sarah dies. You wouldn't dare. Julian sneered. Why don't you test me? No. I shouted frantically. Julian asked, so you agree to come back to the Sterling estate? I was about to answer when the sharp click of high heels broke the standoff. I looked up. An elderly woman with silver hair at her temples, but an imposing aura walked in. It was Grandma. Put her down. Grandma commanded the large bodyguard. Her authority was absolute. The bodyguard, intimidated by her presence, actually lowered Mom gently. Julian, however, began to tremble. He clenched his fists but didn't dare make a move. He hated Grandma, but as the soft bone Victoria liked, he crumbled before true power. Grandma steadied Mom, then elegantly peeled the tape from her mouth. Her tone was cool. This is the son you gave birth to? What filth? Mom wept, finally broken. Mom, Caleb is a good boy. Julian, he was corrupted by David and Victoria. Grandma scoffed. I'm not blind. The situation shifted instantly. The bodyguards holding me were distracted. I broke free and rushed to Mom. Mom, are you okay? She shook her head weakly. Caleb, I'm useless. I almost made you accept that venomous woman as your mother. Before I could speak, Julian yelled, Sarah, I forbid you to insult my mother. Julian had overcome his fear enough to glare at Grandma and threaten Mom. Just then, 3 police officers rushed into the bistro. After a quick assessment, everyone involved was invited to the station. Grandma took Mom to the hospital first due to her condition. With Grandma gone, Julian got cocky again. He stupidly threatened the lead officer, Sergeant Chun. My mother is Victoria Sterling. You dare arrest me? Sergeant Chun was stone-faced. If you break the law, I don't care who your parents are. You will face the consequences. I don't believe it. Save that speech for someone else. Julian Reed, please cooperate. Julian screamed, I won't. Let me go. I am Victoria Sterling's son. I should be at a gala eating caviar, not being questioned about this garbage. I scoffed. I think you need to check into a psych ward. Julian lunged at me, but Sergeant Chin blocked him. Chin warned me, Caleb, don't provoke him. Clearly, the cop realized Julian was unstable before I did. It made sense. To be Victoria's heir, obedience wasn't enough. You needed excellence and nerves of steel. Julian's stupidity and rage told me the only thing he offered Victoria was submission. I stayed quiet. Julian asked nervously, what do you mean? Sergeant Chun said, I need you to answer questions. You are 14. You could be held criminally liable for serious offenses. Julian continued to rave. My mother is Victoria Sterling. I am untouchable. Chun lost his patience. Give me your guardian's contact info. Julian rattled off a number, laughing maniacally. That's my mom's number. Prepare to be terrified. Chun ignored him and dialed on speaker. Is this Victoria Sterling? This is the police. Your stepson, Julian Reed, is suspected of gang assault, attempted murder, and attempted kidnapping. He is refusing to cooperate. You need to come down. Victoria's voice came through, crisp and cold. He is not my son yet. He is just my husband's child. We all heard it. I expected it. I stayed calm. Julian shattered. He yelled at the phone, Mom, the cop is lying. I didn't commit a crime. I'll be fine. I'll bring Caleb to you. Mom, believe me. Mom, don't be disappointed. I had to admit, Julian was a perfectly trained dog. Julian, stop embarrassing yourself. Wait for me. Victoria's calm sentence was like a thunderclap. Julian collapsed to the floor, eyes unfocused, muttering to himself. It looked like a psychotic break, or perhaps just shock. Chun looked at me. I'll question you first. Okay. Victoria must have been in town. She arrived in 20 minutes. The moment Julian saw her, fear flashed in his eyes. He sobered up instantly, becoming servile. He knelt before her. Mom, what's wrong? Victoria smiled fondly. You made a mess. I'm here to clean it up. Julian shook like a leaf. Mom, I didn't mean to. I can fix it. She touched his cheek. Quiet. Julian shut his mouth instantly, standing still as a statue. Victoria knew how to control people. Bone can be hard, but is it harder than a blade? Even I had considered submitting when she nearly tortured me to death in the last life. Let alone Julian, whose only desire was wealth. Witnessing Victoria tame Julian, Sergeant Chin frowned, but proceeded with the interrogation. This time, with Victoria's silent command, Julian answered every question obediently. When it was over, Victoria asked, Officer, can I take the child home now? Chin replied, You can apply for bail. Victoria smiled cynically. Your superior is Commissioner Zhou, right? My father and he. Chin cut her off. Ms. Sterling, watch your words. She stopped, then rephrased. Officer, can I take Julian now? Chin remained firm. No. She threatened with a smile. Commissioner Zhou is... You mean Zhou Chu? He was my intern. Let's see if he takes your call. Grandma arrived late, but swept in with overwhelming presence. When Victoria turned and saw Grandma's face, her composure cracked. It's you. Grandma was every inch the queen. It is. Julian attempted to kidnap my daughter. She is in shock and has a high fever. I will not be lenient. I am pressing charges against Julian. Victoria lost her cool. You can't. Grandma stepped forward. Why not? Victoria opened and closed her mouth, but couldn't speak. Frustrated, she turned and slapped Julian hard across the face. This is all your fault. Julian took the hit, practically falling to his knees. Mom, I'm sorry, I know I was wrong. Please don't punish me. Victoria regained her mask quickly. Her voice turned gentle. Jules, what are you saying? When have I ever punished you? You played a prank on your birth mother. You should apologize. I stepped in. Julian, if you ever harass Mom again, I won't be polite. Victoria looked at me with that same twisted appreciation for my past life. It disgusted me, but I kept my face blank. Taking her hint, Julian threw himself at Grandma's feet. Grandma, please let me go. I don't want to go to jail. Grandma looked down at him. You are not my grandson. I will not forgive you. She turned to Sergeant Chun. I want to press charges. Chun nodded. I will process his detention. Grandma looked at Victoria. Ms. Sterling, if you want to bail him out, follow the legal procedure. Faced with greater power, Victoria dared not hint at corruption again. Officer, I understand. Chun took Julian away. Victoria followed to give instructions. Grandma called to me. Come home with me. Okay. Outside the station, Grandma asked, Don't you have questions about me and your mother? Mom raised me. It wasn't easy. I respect her choices. Grandma smiled. If only Sarah were more like you. I defended Mom. Grandma, Mom misses you. She always looks at your old photos. That's how I recognized you. Grandma huffed. Looking at photos is useless. She should have called when she was in trouble. Both of them were stubborn and proud. Grandma blamed Mom for not asking for help, but she had monitored Mom for years without stepping in. Neither wanted to blink first. I said heavily, this time, Mom swallowed her pride for me. Grandma sighed, and for herself. Don't feel guilty. You're a good kid. I know. On the ride to her estate, Grandma explained the past. Young Sarah had been charmed by David's looks and grand promises. Grandma saw through David immediately. He was a gold digger. Grandma had dedicated 20 years to building Vance Industries after my grandfather passed, neglecting Sarah. Their relationship was fragile. When Sarah insisted on marrying David, Grandma gave an ultimatum, dump him or be disowned. Sarah chose to be disowned. David thought Sarah was a poor orphan. Once they married, he showed his true colors. Sarah endured until I was 6. David thought marrying Victoria was entering high society, but he'd been unknowingly married to it all along. Because Grandma was opening up, I asked, Grandma, why did you show up tonight? Your mother is stubborn, but I don't want her dead. I've watched you for 15 years. You have character and talent, and you love her. I feel safe revealing myself and eventually handing my business to you. In the last life, Julian, who hated Mom, wouldn't have passed Grandma's assessment. Mom never faced a life-or-death kidnapping, so Grandma never intervened. In both lives, David and Julian destroyed their own chance at happiness. I declined Grandma's offer softly. Grandma, I'm still young. Her eyes were sharp. You'll grow up. We'll see. I left it open. If I couldn't crush the Sterlings on my own, I might need the Vance Empire. Grandma gave me a key to a room in her massive estate, then sent a driver to take me to the hospital. Mom's fever had broken. Good. Let Julian suffer a while longer. Since he was only 14, even with Grandma's lawyers pushing, the judge would go easy on him. Summer passed. Julian started his freshman year of high school. While he was in juvenile detention, I investigated his life. Previously, I feared Victoria noticing me. Now, with Grandma as a shield, I dug deep. When he was 6, David used Victoria's connections to start Julian in school early, putting him in my grade. Julian was supposed to skip grades to prove his genius. But he was an idiot. He barely maintained passing grades, while Victoria forced him to learn piano, ballroom dance, fencing, and equestrianism. Victoria began disciplining him immediately. David was too terrified to help him cheat, so they lived in fear. David was just a trophy husband, kept around as long as he didn't embarrass her. But Julian was the heir project. The punishments I found evidence of were brutal. By middle school, Julian was failing. Victoria was ready to discard him. When she asked for a divorce, David mentioned I was the top scholar. That's why they came to the restaurant. They were desperate. Julian's arrogance was a mask for terror. Knowing my enemy, I relaxed. Mom and I lived at Grandma's, but Mom kept the bistro, and I still worked shifts there. When school started, I went back to my private prep school. Grandma liked my independence. I didn't expect to see Julian's miserable face on the first day. He glared at me. Victoria must have bought his way into the honors program. We could have ignored each other for 3 years. But he was petty. In gym class, Julian brought 2 lackeys from the standard track to corner me. Caleb, let's talk. I walked away. Lackey 1 blocked me. Boss said stop. You scared. Lackey 2 tried to kick me. I swept his leg, blocked a punch from the first guy, and threw him over my shoulder. Julian's face twisted. Caleb, stop pretending to be weak. I laughed. I never pretended. You're just a stranger who hurt my mother. Don't flatter yourself. Aya! Julian started screaming, scaring his own goons away. His mental state was worse than I thought. He couldn't handle the trigger. Had Victoria praised me while torturing him? Likely. He lunged at me. I stepped back and said calmly, Julian, you can't beat me. Try and you'll get hurt. You'll get a scar. Can Victoria stand a scarred heir? Hearing that, Julian froze. He remembered Victoria's requirements perfectly, even if he couldn't meet them. Suddenly, He stared at me. How do you know she hates scars? That's a secret between Mom and me. I slipped up, but I recovered quickly. You think you're the only one who can investigate people? Victoria is a big shot in New York, maybe. But don't forget where you are. I have Grandma. If you mess with me again, I won't just expose your dirty laundry. I'll ruin you both. Something's wrong. His eyes cleared with sudden, manic clarity. You're reborn, aren't you? You came back too. You knew how terrifying she was. When I chose Dad, you stood there watching me walk into hell. He was smarter than usual today, but I wouldn't admit it. I looked at him like he was insane. What are you babbling about? Reborn? If it's that easy, go jump in a lake and try again. Julian roared, I won't jump. Then check yourself into an asylum and stop barking at me. He hissed, don't let me catch you slipping. I walked away. Julian, terrified of a facial injury, didn't follow. A week later, gym class again. Julian brought 3 bigger guys. I used words to trigger his breakdown again, then beat the guys. They ran. After a few attempts, Julian didn't bully me. He just started a rumor that he was mentally ill. Midterms came. He was last in the class. He vanished for a week, returning with dark circles, spreading rumors that I cheated in middle school. Since I was consistently top of the class, no one believed him. While Julian withered, I thrived. By finals, he didn't even show up. Winter break came. I worked at the bistro. On New Year's Eve, Mom and I stayed at the estate. After replying to well-wishing texts, I messaged my private investigator. Any update on Julian? The reply came, back in New York. Probably won't return to Boston. Victoria must have recalled him for emergency training. Based on my past life, she needed a valedictorian son. Relying on Julian seemed impossible, but she kept him around as a placeholder. It didn't matter. Without his harassment, I spent my weekends meeting with a partner from my past life. I convinced him to start a venture, his money, my ideas. The day before the SATs/graduation, Julian, who had been missing for 2 years, tailed me. He clamped a cloth over my mouth. It smelled of familiar chemicals. I held my breath, feigning unconsciousness to see his play. He dragged me to a car, drove for an hour, and pulled me into an abandoned warehouse. He tied me to a chair. He was panting heavily, weaker than before. Slap. He woke me up. Caleb, I found you. I acted groggy. You? Yes. Me. His eyes were bloodshot, face twitching. For 2 years, I've wanted to destroy you. Why do we both get a second chance? But I suffer while you get everything I wanted. I emphasized. I'll say it again, I am not reborn. Stop projecting your delusions. He screamed. It's not a delusion. Victoria clearly hadn't invested in therapy. I asked, you kidnapped me to make me miss the exams. Yes. Julian pulled out his phone, pointing the camera at me. And I'm live streaming. I want you to confess to the world that you cheated on your entrance exams. That's fiction, I said, looking at the lens. But the evidence of you kidnapping me is now being broadcast to your viewers. Liar. Julian seemed to just realize that forced confessions don't work if the victim refuses. He smashed his phone. Why do you push me? You have Grandma's billions. Why couldn't you help me get Mom's approval? Victoria gave up on you because you were incompetent, I said coldly. In the same high-pressure environment, I had outsmarted Victoria. You just broke. You're the incompetent one. Julian lunged, hands reaching for my throat. I'll kill you. If you're dead, you can't be valedictorian. I understood now. For 2 years, Victoria had probably been vetting new sons, telling Julian, you are far worse than Caleb, to motivate him through torture. It finally snapped him. At 16, he was committing a felony, and he had live-streamed it. Even for a minute, the internet never forgets. Before his hands touched me, the doors burst open. Police swarmed in, tackling Julian. I had shared my location with Grandma the moment I got in the car. She understood. This time, Grandma pressed charges again. Abandoned by Victoria, Julian was sentenced to 5 years. I took my exams and graduated as valedictorian. In prison, seeing the news of my success, Julian suffered a total psychotic break. He would spend the rest of his life in a secure psychiatric facility. Victoria, unable to decide between 2 new sons she was sponsoring, both with identical scores, kept them in a state of vicious competition. I secretly hired people to stoke the fires of their rivalry, ensuring her house was never at peace. It didn't matter much. My company was already growing. Eventually, I would acquire the Sterling Group and erase her legacy. Story complete.